Right. Hello, everyone. So this is a session for a Devstack walkthrough. And then through this Devstack walkthrough, we will pretty much cover a lot of Devstack features. So, and then show you how to use Devstack, what is it for, how can you interact with OpenStack, and a lot of that. This is really useful for you to understand how OpenStack works, how the services work, how you can see some logging and all of that. So I will start by sharing my terminal. And in a machine that has a Devstack installed, of course, and I will try to do this on using the LVM driver, uh, just because I'll be able to do some share mounting and all of that. If you're using the dummy driver, you won't be able to do the mounting of the shares as I will show you, just because the dummy driver only creates uh, the backends, or it doesn't create anything actually factual. It's only something that we do in the database, and then it's pretty much a testing driver. So we don't use the dummy driver for actually creating shares, creating any data. In this case, I'm using a Devstack environment that has LVM. This is one VM I have. And then, yeah, I can show you examples. I can show you how a local conf I can share a local conf for the LVM Devstack if you'd like. Or this is all available in the OpenStack Manila documentation. So if you'd like to take a look at that, there are different options that you can choose to deploy Devstack. You can deploy with CephFS, CephNFS, LVM, the generic driver. All of those would allow you mounting shares. For this case, I'm using LVM. And let's start by looking at exactly what services do we have in this Devstack. So this is a Devstack installation. It's not fresh because I've run a lot of things. So the first thing that you always do when you log into your Devstack is you will need to search the credentials, so that you can identify, or you can show Devstack who you are. So in this case, I am authenticating as the OpenStack user. I'll first show you what happens if you are not authenticated. So OpenStack share list. You see, you always see a message like that. You are missing value auth URL required for outputting password. So we need to tell OpenStack how we are, who we are. So at the end, what you need to do is there are two ways you can do this, or even more. The one that I will do here is by doing export OS cloud equal to Devstack. And then this is, I want to be Devstack admin, sorry. Just because I would like to show you like the services and all of that. And then I'll try to do OpenStack share list again. There will be a couple of shares here, or at least one, because I was doing some testing. And it's pretty much like a share in this case is space of storage. Let's think of it like a shared folder that you can mount in your system and write data to it. But this mount in a cloud environment, this space, or this storage space, it would not be usually in your machine. You are consuming it from a cloud. It's located somewhere else, and then you are just a user mounting the share into a VM and writing data to it, but it's actually not there. You are just like mounting it through the network and then writing the data to it. So this share, it has 1 gigabyte of size. It is an NNFS share. And there are multiple protocols that you would like, but let's first take a look at the OpenStack services that are available. So in this installation, we have Neutron, which is necessary for networking. We also have Manila, the Manila legacy, or Manila V2 legacy in this case. We have Manila V2 legacy's Manila legacy service. We have Glance, which is used for Images, it's the image service. So when you are in a cloud, you need to create VMs for your workloads, and then you need somewhere to store your images. So let's say you want to create a new VM whose image is Windows or Linux or any sort of Linux, you would start that with Glass. Nova is a compute service. So, and it's also like they also take care of the placement part, but Nova is the compute service. Whenever you want to create a VM, you ask Nova. There is the identity service, which we just saw, like missing out value for missing out URL required for out plugin password. Keystone is the identity, which the place that you do all of the authentication and authorization in your cloud. So it will do authentication for all of the services. And then there's placement. This is kind of like a minimal Devstack installation. I think maybe this is kind of a good one at this point. I won't be creating VMs right now, possibly, just because I remembered that I remember something, but yeah, let's go through it. So yeah, let's take a look at, for example, if I want to interact with any of these services, all of them have something that is called the OpenStack CLI. And whenever I do OpenStack share list, for example, it means that I'm calling the OpenStack CLI. Share is the service that I'm trying to call, which is vanilla. And then I'm trying to do the listing for the shares. All of the other commands, if you do OpenStack, you see pretty much all commands available. Oh, sorry. Exit. So OpenStack, yeah, that would work as well. But if I do OpenStack help like that, I'll see a lot of different keys that I can set to my OpenStack commands. I can see a lot of other things. It's a very complete client, as you can see. We never actually will use a lot of these, but these are the commands available, right? So OpenStack access rule delete. We have address groups. We have yeah, a lot of networking stuff with these BGP peers, BGP VPNs. So all of the commands for OpenStack are listed here. You can get like a huge list, but if you'd like only the OpenStack share commands, for example, OpenStack share list or OpenStack share, I don't think, yeah. So if you'd only like to see the OpenStack share commands, everything that's available for Manila, you can type OpenStack share and hit enter, and then all of these commands related to Manila will show up, and then you can interact with it. So how can you create some storage space in OpenStack or using Manila? Well, that's simple, I would say. You need to create a new share, which is pretty much what already exists there. So let's take a look at OpenStack share create, and let's see what we will need for creating a share. So we need to specify something that's called protocol and the size. Protocol is the protocol that this share will use, the shares file system will use. So we have different kinds of protocols. We have CIFS, which is pretty much for SMB or Windows clients. We have CephFS, which is a protocol native for the Ceph storages. We have NFS, which is the Network File System Protocol, which is I think, one of the biggest use cases here. And then there are a lot of different not these options, they are the positional arguments, and so they are required when you are creating a share, but these are the optional ones. So you can specify a share network, you can specify a description, if the share is public, what's the share type, a lot of that. Let's go through the share type because it's really important so that we can create a share. We can just like create the share, do OpenStack share create, and then specify the protocol and the size. We don't need anything, and the share would be created if you have the correct setup for the share types. But the share types are also very important. So OpenStack share type list, it will show pretty much all of the share types that are available here. What are the share types though? So if you look at the list of share types, they are something, or they are entity in Manila. They are not something physical. They are just a place that we can define a set of characteristics that we want our share to have. So in case I want to use the default share type, I'm also additionally saying that I expect that this share supports snapshot, supports creating shares from snapshots, supports reverting to a snapshot, and supports mounting snapshots. So with these share types, they are used for determining what are all of the characteristics that we expect from a share and what we expect the share to be able to handle. And we also it also helps us to getting all of these both the required and the optional extra specs. If you get these extra specs and look through the list of available backends, when I'm saying backends, you can think about in this Manila context, I'm talking about storage, right? So let's say you have a cloud, like a major cloud, let's say something like Amazon. Let's suppose they used OpenStack. And then Amazon might want to have like thousands or a public cloud or so private cloud. They might want to have like different sorts of storage because they have different deals going on. So let's say they are using Ceph, they are using Dell, and they are using NetApp. So every single one of these, they are plugged to Manila. And then if you look at I'll show you how we can plug stuff to Manila through looking at the Manila conf. So every single one of these is one backend. So we have these two backends named Chicago and Denver. Let's suppose these are two different storages that are here. Let's say one of them is like a Dell, another one is like a NetApp, and each one of them is in a different region. You can have that with OpenStack. So whenever you are creating shares, you be targeting your shares to all of these different storages. So that's pretty much it. And then how can we define exactly what we will be, what backends are we targeting? So if we look at the Manila Conf again, you see that there are a couple of different things. We are not specifying anything specifically, but we can there is one very important thing here, which is called GHSS, and we also see that it matches something that we've defined here. We have the GHSS false for most of these share types, and then this is the very first thing that we'll be looking into. So if I want to a DHSS false backend, if I try to create a share with this share type here, which is called DHSS true and has the driver handler share server true, in this environment it will fail. Why? Because all of the backends that I have available, they are DHSS false, right? So that's pretty much it. We'll look through the list of share types and we'll look at the characteristics defined in the share types and then filter backends to see what's the most suitable for our request. So in this case, if I create a share using the default share type, it means that this share, and the creation succeeds, of course, it means that this share it should have snapshot support, it has create share from snapshot support. So all of these characteristics that I'm defining here. And then that's the way that we determine what's the place that we should place our shares, or the storages that we should place our shares. So there are four different, one is like less used, but there are three main components, three main services in Manila. The first of them is called the Manila API. The second of them is called the Manila Scheduler, and the third one of them is called the Manila Share. The Manila, there is the fourth one, which is the Manila Data, which is pretty much used for a lot of data transferring operations. I won't get much into the Manila data right now. I'll cover pretty much like the first three of them. So let me open a Tmux and show you something nice. So let's create a couple of windows. So this one is going to be our terminal. This one is going to be, we'll listen to the API, and the next one we'll listen to the scheduler. So sudo 1 second. I won't hit enter yet. And then this is going to be the Manila share. Why this matters? So whenever you do any operation with Manila, it will, especially when you need to hit the backend, it will go through the workflow that I just, to the services that I just mentioned with you. So let me do export Devstack admin. I need to authenticate again because I've kind of opened a new terminal. So let's say you are attempting to create a share, right? So I will, what's the first place that I will hit? The first place that I'll hit will be the API. Because the API is in most applications, like it's after you actually hit the authentication layer, which is Keystone, you'll be redirected to the Manila API. The API will be responsible for doing kind of like the heavier or not so heavy, actually the heavier validation of your requests. So it's pretty much, let's say you create a share and then you specify a wrong parameter or something that Manila is not expecting. What the API will do is it will look through all of the parameters that you've defined in the API, and then in the request, and then it will provide you a response. In this case, in Manila, we have like the API doing all of these validations, and then the request would go, if succeeded, the request would go through the next step. But the thing is, the API will do validations like what user are you? Not what user are you exactly. That will be a part of the Keystone stuff. But whenever you are hitting the API, it will, for example, when you say OpenStack share create, and then you select NFS as the protocol of the share. If your Manila is not configured to support NFS, the API would tell you, like, oh, you cannot create a share with NFS because your cloud doesn't support. And then all of those validations will happen first. If you specify a share type that does not exist, the API will be the one checking if the share type exists before the request goes further, just because we want to fail as early as possible whenever you specify something that should not work, right? So whenever you create a share, let's say I'll do OpenStack share create, and then I'll say NFS is the protocol, size 1, share type default, and then let's say the name of the share is BC students. I'm creating the share, and this is the response from the API. The API will go through all of the parameters that I specified. If I didn't specify anything wrong, then it will create just fine. Otherwise, it should have failed. But after it checked the validation, it validated the parameters and it checked everything that I sent to the API, it will tell us, look, this is the identification of your share. It will create the share entity in the database, but it will have the status of the share set to creating, so that the other services will act. And then whenever the share creation is done, it will be moved to a different state. So I should actually have hit this differently. So I'll go through the services in a bit. So you create the share, you go, it hit the API, and then the API responded to us like, this share called VC students, it's now creating. So how can we check if the share is available and ready to be used? Well, you can do OpenStack share list. And then in case the share creation went through, the share is going to be available, right? So, but what happens after you hit the API? After you hit the API, you go to a place called the scheduler. The scheduler will look through all of the available backends, and it will match all of the characteristics you defined in the share type. Let's say the share type, in this case, it had a GHSS false, right? We won't get into GHSS now, but it had GHSS false and it had snapshot support. Let's suppose we had like 5 different storage backends configured in this cloud, and then only 2 of them supported snapshots, had the snapshot support set. In that case, only one of them would be getting, or only 2 of them that have the snapshot support will be suitable backends to place the request. So the scheduler will look through all of the capabilities defined in the share type, and it will look through all of the backends, and it will try to match them. It will also do filtering stuff like, for example, what's the storage that has the most space available, what's the storage that the best. We have some different kinds of weighers, and we will weigh each backend in order to ensure that we are placing it the share in the one that like it's the most suitable, and we are also ensuring that we are splitting the workloads between all of the storages. Otherwise, we'll be creating shares in one single storage, and nobody wants that. We want stuff to be evenly balanced between storages. So in this case, it's already created the share, and then after you select the backend, after the scheduler selects which storage this request should land in, then we'll exactly go to that storage, right? We'll go through that. We'll go to that share service, which for each storage that we have configured, we have one corresponding service called Manila Share. Whenever the scheduler identified like the storage that it wants to send the request to, it will send a direct request for creating the storage space that it needs. So after the scheduler is done is done with the selecting of the backends, it will go to the next step, which is sending that to the storage, and then that's the one of the interesting parts here, right? I've talked to you about a lot of different vendors, like we have Ceph, we have NetApp, we have IBM, we have a lot of that. But how can we identify, like how can we send commands specific to each one of those storages? So we'll call the Manila Share Manager or the Manila Share Service, and the Manila Share Service will be the entity responsible for create or for calling the driver, and then making sure that the driver creates the share properly. So every single one of those storages, like you can imagine that Dell does things different from Pure, from Peer, from NetApp, from Ceph. So every single one of them has their own peculiarities, and then that's when we come to the concepts of drivers. So we have like tens of different drivers in Manila. If you look at Devstack Manila, LSLA Manila share drivers. So each one of these folders is one or more drivers. So we have a lot of this, and this driver is pretty much an interface, right? They all follow one specific interface, which is defining exactly a way that you should interact with these drivers. So whenever you call create share, all of the drivers should have their call to should have a method and should implement the method of the base class called drivers to create the share in the way that they would like. So for CephFS, that is create subvolume. For NetApp, that is create a volume. For Dell, it is something else, like create a file system. So each one of them will translate the request that Manila is sending to them into a way that their storage box will understand. And Manila doesn't care about what it means at the end for you. It doesn't care about any of that. It only cares that at the end of the request, that the driver, the storage driver, responds to the Manila Share Service with the space allocated and the path that the user can use to mount the share. That's the only thing that matters. So at the end, the drivers, they are actually, they are actually something that they are some interfaces that you use, and then they will have all of the details of the driver to convert whatever Manila is asking to a language that the storage can understand, and then convert whatever the storage replied in a language that Manila can understand, period. That's pretty much what the driver will do. And then it will return the storage. It will allocate the 1 gigabyte share, as I said. And it will allocate the 1 gigabyte share. And then the Manila Share Service will, at the end, go with the request and go on with the request and update the data in the share entity, and then set it to available and update the all of the path, all of the fields, for example, the export path, this status of the share, all of that. So How can you look through the logs and see that things are going well? That's the next part that I kept these commands like hanging here. So we have the Manila API, we have the Manila share, we have the Manila scheduler. Each one of these OpenStack services, not only related to Manila, every single one of them will have in this way that they're installed with Devstack, they will have a Devstack system. They'll have a system unit in Linux. So the code will be installed, and then every single one of these services, they will end up as part of a unit, and then you can listen to the logs of that specific unit, for example. So all of the services except for Keystone, they are prefixed with devstack at something. So if you do, for example, OpenStack or sudo system cuttle status pipe grep devstack, these are all of the devstack services available. Oh, Keystone is also prefixed with devstack, my bad. So all of these services are installed. So we have Manila data, Manila share, Manila API, and we also have the Manila scheduler. So all of these are the available services with Devstack. So if we want to see a request going through in Manila, we should start first by the API. So how can I listen to the logs? Well, I'll do sudo journal cuttle, specify a couple of flags, in this case AFU, and then say Devstack, which is and then I'll specify the prefix of the service. So in this case, I want to listen to the Manila API service, which will be devstack at m-api.service. Every single service has their own prefix. Manila is always m-something. So m-api, m-sch for scheduler, m-shr for share, and m-dat for data. So let's start listening to the API service in this tab. This is pretty much like the logs that the API service is printing. So if I do OpenStack share list, we should see this. Let me just clear this thing, and then we can see exactly what will happen. So let's do OpenStack share list. We'll hit the API, and then this is exactly what happens when we do OpenStack share list. It here's saying that it's saying that we are doing a get to this API, and then we are and then that this asks also this detail list of shares, and then it doesn't show exactly the response. But yeah, we can see the response in different ways. So if we want to look at the scheduler as well, the scheduler will keep like listening and talking to the backends all the time because it needs to keep the capabilities updated. So you see here that you can see that there is total capacity gigabytes, there is free capacity gigabytes, reserved percentage. So all of this is taken into consideration when a share is being created. And then we have this third one, which is going to be the Manila share, which keeps talking to the drivers and keep updating stuff, running some periodic tasks. Do you have any questions so far? Yeah, taking silence as well. So this is pretty much the services. So now let's trace a request of a share creation and see exactly what will be displayed or what will happen whenever we do this share creation. So let's create a new share. So another 1 GB share, let's call it VC Students 2. And then, yeah, so here we got share creation, and then it's called the action create of the shares. And then it's the parameters that were provided in the request were, let me go, just stop this. Size equal to 1 GB. There's no snapshot ID. The name of the share that we specified is VC Students. The protocol of the share is NFS. And then the share type ID is this one. So if I go to the next one, which was the scheduler, we'll see actually the scheduling happening. So whenever we send the request, it starts doing some filtering. So at the end, it's looking at the capacity filters, looking at the capabilities filter, all of that, and all of those were returning two different hosts. So it will look through these two different hosts and return one. So at the end, it ended up picking this host. This host is the Denver host, and then the share should be created here. So whenever the share creation completes, it should have gone through the Denver host. And then if we look at here, the request should have come through. And then let's take a look at the share creation stuff specifically. I think there are some periodic tasks happening. Yeah, so we here is actually happening the reservation already. So the share creation request got through, and then we are starting to run some commands, and we started running some commands to make the share available. Here it says exactly like the updating share instances is a different thing. It's a part of the periodic share status updates. So yeah, all of the logs will be here. So that's how you debug stuff. Whenever you want to create a share, whenever you want to trace, that's what you would do. You first start looking at the API. Then if there aren't any errors in the API, you go through the scheduler, check if there are scheduling errors, and then you go through the Manila share stuff. But how can you mount shares, right? So OpenStack share list. So as I said, the shared file system or the shares, they are like some space allocated in the storage, right? And then that space, it doesn't just like it's granted access to everyone. It actually is something like that you don't have any access until someone creates access rules for you. So it's pretty much like you going to Google Drive, creating a new folder, and sharing access with a different user, like with a user from that has an email. It's pretty much the same thing. Whenever you want to grant access to someone, then you would need to go and like set the IP, set the user that you are trying to grant access to. So in this case, I'll grant access to this share. So let's take a look at OpenStack show VC students 2. Let's see how the updated share looks like, right? So it has a whole bunch of different things. Like it picked up the Manila availability zone, which is related to the storage. The share type is the default. It has the user ID stored as well. And you see it ended up in the Denver host. And we have a lot of other different things called a lot of different details called export locations. And then the export locations, it holds the ID of the export location and the path. This is the path that we will use for mounting the share. So I will save it here. And then if you attempt mounting this share right now, so let's create a new directory here and try to mount this directory and write data like I was a user or something. So mkdir, mkdir, mnt. Oh, let's do this. Mnt vc share. Oh, let's just do this here. I don't need to mess with anything. So let's list, I have the VC share here. Let's attempt mounting this to the VC share. So sudo mount -t nfs, and then I will specify the path and VC share because I want to mount this here. Oh, no such file or directory. There is some failure here. So I think I've inverted the order possibly, or no. Yeah, does not exist. It's yeah. So at the end, what we need to do is we need to grant access to the share. So we need to do OpenStack share access create, and then the share name is VC students 2, right? So let's grant access to some people in the VC students 2. And then the next thing I'll need to do is specify the type of access and to whom I want to grant access to. So let's say it's everyone in the internet can have access to this. Um, and yeah, I've attempted creating the access, and then it's clear to apply. I need to list the access for this share to ensure that it was applied correctly. So this is going to be access list BC students too. Yeah, it's active. So if I attempt mounting again, it should possibly work if I'm not messing up the order. BC share. Yeah, it mounted. So if I do df-h, it will show exactly everything that's mounted. And you see here that there is this new entry that's mounted in my system right now. It has 979 megabytes. It's mounted to this directory. So anything that I write to this folder, so if I do, like, for example, hello.text, hello.txt, I will be able to write some data here. So right, so I wrote data here. I could just go to any other VM that can access it, or any other place that can access this share, and grant access. If granted access, in this case, I've granted access to everyone in the world. You possibly won't be able to hit this, but I've granted access to everyone in the world, and yeah, whatever user attempts to write data into this share, they will be able to. So yeah, I think that concludes the access listing. And then there are different other things related to Manila as well, right? Because whenever you're dealing with shares, let's say you have this one share that's 1 gigabyte. So OpenStack, oh, I think my internet is a bit slow. OpenStack share list. Yeah, so we have this share, it's 1 gigabyte. Let's say we want to grow it into 2 gigabytes. So it's OpenStack share set, VC students 2 size, let's say 2. It's not size anymore, yeah. Oh, it's resize. I always get confused after we did the moving of the CLIs, because in Manila, CLI, it will be called shrink and extend. And then, yeah, the resizing changed name. So that was my confusion there. So if we do OpenStack share list, this share should be now 2 gigabytes. Yes. And if I do df-h, it's now showing that it is a 2 gigabyte share, right? So at the end, yeah, it's exactly the amount of space consumed right now, or the space allocated, not consumed. And if I want to grow this into like 50 gigas or something like that, I should be able to, not on this environment because it's lightweight. But yeah, I could just create, or I could just pretty much grow the sharing until I have some space to do it. So this is growing. There is also like shrinking, and there is a lot of other operations with Manila, basically. But yeah, this is pretty much a lot of the basics. So everything that there's a lot of things that you can do with shares. So for example, we can create snapshots, OpenStack share list, and then we can do OpenStack snapshot or share snapshot create, and then I specify which share I want to snapshot. And then let's say I want to name the snapshot VC to snapshot. Yeah, I'm creating a snapshot. A snapshot is a point-in-time copy of the share. So whatever data is in the share at the moment should be also copied to the snapshot. So let's do OpenStack share snapshot list. It should be, yeah, apparently it's created. It's okay. So if I do OpenStack share snapshot show, VC2 snapshot, it will show some details of the snapshot. This has a mount point as well, because this the NFS driver for LVM, it provides options to mount shares, mount snapshots as well, if you'd like. So in this case, yeah, it has a mount point. But let's say I want to create a share from this snapshot, and then let's say I'm attempting to restore all the data that was in the other share because it was broken. How can I do this? I can do OpenStack share create, and then dash name. I will say share to from snapshot, and then let's say snapshot. I'm not sure if it's snapshot ID or snapshot, but I think it's going to be snapshot. Yeah, so we have snapshot, we have the name. We should likely do the this NFS one as well.
Carlos, so a snapshot is like a backup?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So OpenStack share list, it might have failed just because I've set, oh, it passed. No. Yeah, share from snapshot 2. So I've created the backup. Now I can attempt mounting the snapshot and check ensuring that the data is there. So OpenStack share show share 2 from snapshot. Share is there. Let's attempt mounting it. I'm not sure if it will work just because we haven't created export look or access lists or access rules for it yet. So let's attempt mounting it. So let's mkdir -b vc snapshot. And then let's attempt mounting here. So sudo mount -t NFS. And then let's say this into the VC snapshot. Yeah, failed, right? Fail mounting this, but we should also grant the access to it just because we don't have access, any access rules granted to this VC snapshot yet. So let's do OpenStack share access list on this, not VC snapshot actually, it is a different share name, which I forgot already, my bad. My memory used to be better. Let's list shares for this, share access for this. Yeah, no accesses yet. So let's do access create again. And then instead of VC students 2, let's do this share that we just created, right? And then execute to apply. Yeah, access rules active. I should be able to mount this now. Yeah, let's give it a shot. Yeah, mounted. df-h. Yeah, it is there. Let's take a look at VC snapshot. And the hello is there because I've created it from snapshot, right? And then this is pretty much the text that I've written into that. So there's a lot you can do with Manila. You can do migration, you can do snapshotting, you can do pretty much a lot of these backups that your cloud would need. But this is pretty much like some basics, I would say. Of course, you won't mount shares like that. You also need to get Nova involved because you create shares, for example, or you create share instances, or which are called VMs, and then you get users the possibility of creating these VMs and attaching these shares to the VM. So instead of granting access to everyone, you would possibly grant access to a subset of IPs, for example. So this is pretty much something that will come with, like other things. For setting up VMs, you also need to do the networking parts for creating VMs. You also need to deal with security rules. But I think as far as Manila goes with Devstack walkthrough, debugging stuff, this is pretty much a lot of stuff already, so that you can look into, you can get back to in the future if you are debugging something, trying to do something. Yeah, I would like to again ask if you have any questions, or also ask Gautam if I missed something, something important.
No,
that
I
would
think
be
this is
necessary.
This is great. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I think this is a lot more than I thought we'd pack in, right? So to get them started on the user commands, it is great to actually see, shared file systems in action. Like you'd be able to mount and actually see, read, write data. In your Devstack machines, you shouldn't be able to do this, right? Because
Yeah.
you've all used Devstack with a dummy driver, a fake driver. The deal with the fake driver is it lets you test something really well, but as far as the API is concerned, and that's what we're interested in for your project. We're testing the API. We don't really care about the back end, whether we're able to mount stuff, write, read data and stuff. But it's really cool to actually see how people end up using it. As Carlos said, part of this mounting, you can mount things anywhere. It could happen on bare metal nodes, on containers, on virtual machines, etc. As long as you have network connectivity, you should be able to use this shared file system from anywhere. There are people in the world that that have deployed this, that actually have shares on Earth, and the file systems are actually getting mounted inside satellites. It's crazy when you think about it, but that's how powerful this technology is at the end of the day. But for you to get a flare of this is great. But when you're trying these things, you should know why it's not going to work in your DevStack machines. It's because of the configuration that we'd like for you guys to experiment only with the APIs. I mean, we've gone over the hour, Carlos. Can we do some of these open API assignments and then probably have them explore some of this, digest the DevStack knowledge, try things out, come up with questions for next week, and also step into the tasks itself. And by tasks, I mean we'd like to break up the work as we showed you last week, and just have some assignment going. We don't really need you to get a solid start with it or something like that, but just try to start thinking about it. Um, yeah, Derek, go ahead.
Yes. So two questions. I remember last meeting you mentioned that Manila commands are going to be depreciated, so we would only really be using OpenStack commands. Is that because I saw that Carlos was using a